Alright, guys, this is inaccurate. So, I was kind of going over the footage I had for Minecraft about building the whole house and everything, and I found it was kind of boring. It was boring, and I didn't really talk too much. So, I decided I'm just going to read you guys a story instead of comment on the game. Yep, so, just sit back, relax, and try to focus on my voice. So this is the story of why Solaire is the Karthus Sandworm. Many people, myself included, have asked themselves, where's Solaire? What happened to him? We can acquire his armor and shield from the crows, but never see mention of him elsewhere. Even his name is omitted from the item description of his set. Well, I may have an answer for you, but I don't think you're going to like it. Let's start by going back to Dark Souls 1, where you find Solaire in Izalith. Most people probably didn't know about the shortcut, and as a result encountered an aggressive Solaire with the Sunlight Maggot lashed onto his face like something out of a Ridley Scott movie. He fell prey to its glorious incandescence while searching for a sun to call his own, and it drove him mad. It is possible to save him by killing the maggot before he can reach it. But what if I told you that never happened, and Solaire lived on after the Chosen Undead made his way through Lordaeron, Sunlight Maggot still attached? We know the Sunlight Maggot is still alive. When warned due to its item description, a loathsome parasite that inhabits Lost Isle. It is completely immobile, yet still lives. So with this knowledge, we can assume the Sunlight Maggot acts like a parasite, feeding off its host. But that's all we can really know for sure. What if the maggot has a more symbiotic relationship with its host? As a parasite with no host will soon perish. What if the maggot grants its host great power so it can continue living? At the cost of overtaking the host, amplifying their power, and transforming it into a powerful behemoth. What if this exact scenario has happened to Solaire? We know Solaire is a powerful man, powerful enough to reach Anor Londo, powerful enough to enter the demon ruins, and even powerful enough to make it to the kiln of the first flame, should he be saved. The description of his armor in Dark Souls 3 takes this even further by stating the armor has no special properties or powers, implying Solaire's strength and might come solely from within himself. The choice attire of a singular knight of sunlight from a previous age, the symbol was painted by the knight himself, but the armor never bore any special power, sacred or otherwise. So now, where is Solaire? If he indeed became a monstrosity due to the Sunlight Maggot, what monstrosity did he become? Well, I propose my theory to you. Solaire is the giant worm in the old demon ruins. What inspires me to come to this conclusion? Well, first, let's take a look at the giant worm itself. For starters, the thing is emanating with lightning, and even incorporates the magic into its attacks. Sounds a lot like a certain Sunbro to me. Secondly, is the location we encounter the giant worm, the old demon ruins. In the first Dark Souls, the demon ruins and the Izalith were connected, and both were locations where Solaire could be encountered. If the Sunlight Maggot did transform Solaire, it's very likely it would never have left the comfort of its home, with all those kingdoms coming and going on the surface. Lastly, and one of the more solid proofs I have, are the items it drops when killed. First is the Miracle Lightning Stake. Though it isn't the miracle Solaire is known for, it is still a miracle nonetheless. The description of the miracle makes mention of slaying dragons and also of hurtling lightning to be ineffective. Possibly an allusion to his miracle used in the first game being antiquated against his newfound power. This tale describes the lost practices of ancient dragon slayers, who found that in order to pierce dragon scale, lightning should not be hurled as a bolt, but rather be thrust as a stake directly into the dragon's hide, to be truly effective. Now, there's nothing about Solaire slaying dragons in his past, but then again, there's almost nothing about Solaire's past at all. We know almost nothing about him, aside from hailing from Astora. It could be entirely possible that he fought alongside Gwyn during his war against the dragons. One does not become as powerful as Solaire by simply staring at the sun all day. But since there is little to no supporting evidence for this, it's entirely conjecture. Now for the second thing. The giant worm drops an undead bone shard. Why would a giant worm drop a fragment of an old, powerful undead? It doesn't make much sense. Unless, of course, the giant worm was an undead itself at one time. This, I think, is the best supporting evidence out there that the giant worm is more than just a giant worm, or rather was. So in summation, Solaire was canonically corrupted by the Sunlight Maggot, but not killed, and over thousands of years transformed into the giant worm we encounter in the Smoldering Lake. The Sunlight Maggot being a people stage that becomes a giant worm when fused with a powerful enough host. Now I know that the popular theory for years was that Solaire was Gwyn's firstborn, but that seems to have been disproven in Dark Souls 3 with a nameless king, who is most definitely not Solaire, being the firstborn. This is made evident by finding Ornstein's armor after we fight the nameless king, who we know set out to find Gwyn's firstborn and return him home. And as Gwyn's firstborn had all record of his existence, save for a singular statue wiped from history, making his name meaningless, and with Gwyn long dead, he is now king by birthright, hence the nameless king. Well, that wraps it up for me. I wrote this on and off over the course of the day, so there may be holes I missed, as it hasn't been my primary focus for the time being. Feel free to respond with comments, suggestions, and or questions below. Too long, didn't read. Solaire is the giant worm. So this was a post by the attendee that I wrote. I've also included this in the description below, so if you want to check out the link. It looks like we're still not finished with building our house. So I'm going to read you another story. This one is by user Shirataik, also in the link description below. This story is called The Nekopara Conspiracy. Why all is not as it seems in Nekopara. Throughout the various games in the franchise, we have received various clues concerning the true nature of the society that Kasho lives in. I will specifically lay these undeniable truths in order, and the truth of the matter is that the Nekopara universe takes place in a dystopian society, far off into the future, after a mass genocide, as well as employing elements of mind control and secret agents who monitor the population. Number 1. The male genocide. Kasho is the only male seen in the series. The aquarium attendant was female. The police officer, the tableware seller, every single person that Kasho sees with his own eyes is a female. Now wait, you may say, what about his father, who is mentioned frequently? Now, I'd like to draw attention to the fact that mother and father are never actually ever seen, even though they would likely want to see him just as much as Shigure. This leads us to the conclusion that Kasho's parents are somehow, in some way, not really present. The only conclusion that we can draw from the fact that no males are present is that they were somehow eliminated by something. There is not a single instance of a disease in real life which discriminates based on gender alone. That would not be an advantage in any way, shape, or form for any sort of disease, meaning that the disease had to be engineered from the ground up by humans. This was intentional, and, as we have seen through the creation of cat girls through genetic modification in labs, it can be inferred that the society can clone and therefore has no need for human birth anymore. The only explanation is all-out gender warfare. The females unleashed a contagion upon, or perhaps outright exterminated, 99% of male humans. Here's where the issue comes in. Why did Kasho survive? Why is he here? His existence rules out the Auschwitz-style manual extermination and means that it must have been a virus that exterminated the male population, since inevitably there will be a few who are immune to the virus, leaving Kasho alive. Number 2. Why keep Kasho alive? If he can procreate with humans, then he can make more males who are immune to the virus, and thus begin the gender wars anew. This is specifically why Kasho is kept alive by the female dystopian government. They are using him for research. They are evaluating his DNA in secret in order to research a way to get past the immunity that Kasho possesses. He holds the secret to the survival of the male gender and must be studied and researched. This is where Shigure, his little sister, comes in. She is clearly an agent of the dystopian government, sent to monitor the actions of the cat girls. This will be explained next section, but keep that thought. Number 3. The existence of cat girls. Why keep the cat girls around Kasho? Why integrate them into general society? It uses relatively straightforward reasoning, because Kasho cannot be permitted to procreate with any fertile human for fear of immune children. The government must find ways to keep him on a leash, so to speak. That is why he experiences every man's dream. He gets to bone all the cat girls he wants, especially Chocolate and Vanilla, who are just eager to please him. They fit the government agenda perfectly. They stop him from doing the one rebellious act which could completely total the dystopian society in which they live. It follows that the cat girls are specifically designed to be infertile, so that Kasho cannot have the possibility of creating another human male with supposed immunity. I'd also like to point out the fact that there are no cat males, since females control the cloning facilities, thus cat girls must be cloned. Of course, the cat girls do not know of their sacred duty, and it follows that Shigure must monitor them. The bells and mind control. The cat girls are kept in line by the bells. The bells control them and dampen their intelligence to a certain degree, while also maintaining absolute loyalty to their master in Nekopara, Volume 1. The only time that any cat girl willingly disobeys their master's orders is when their bells are off. This happens first when they do not leave a La Sole after Kasho tells them to go back to Shigure. And they also disobey Kasho's order at the end when they take their bells off and leave the house without his permission. And they love their bells. They will never take them off unless their master orders them to. This is a clear sign that the bells influence their decisions and behavior to benefit the bells and their masters. Not to mention the fact that the bells cause the cat girls to become radically in favor of pleasing their master in all circumstances. This also explains the bell exam, which, according to Nekopara 2, is 2 days. If they took a written test, it could be over by the afternoon, but it's expected to be 2 days long. What happens during that time? Even worse, when Chocolate and Vanilla are in danger of failing their bell test, that is, not submitting to the parameters of their mind control devices. Shigure said it could be up to a week. This is clear evidence that more goes on during these tests than we think. They are clearly doing some sort of conditioning procedures, or worse, forced reprogramming. This is additionally supported in Nekopara Volume 2, where you can clearly hear Chocolate screaming for help in the background while Kasho is called by Shigure in the middle of the night. As Shigure tells him that the test will take longer than expected. Number 5. Kasho's origin. It's quite simple, really. What we have here is a vast and technologically capable society, which has the powers of human cloning, genome modification, and advanced biological weaponry capable of enacting mass genocide on an entire gender. It follows that, with such technology, the implementation of false memories or memory erases is very possible. This may also explain why Shigure, although her mission is to monitor both Kasho and the cat girls, is physically attracted to Kasho, even though siblings are almost never actually physically attracted to each other in the real world. Kasho is one of the few survivors who is kept alive and studied. He is given a false world with false memories and a false life to serve the purpose of a genocidal female dystopian government. Number 6. Elimination of crime. There is no crime or evidence of social unrest in Nekopara. It is also explained that within the area that Kasho lives, there is little to no crime. So little is the crime for two reasons. 1. Police officers and enforcement of law is brutal and swift. The officer at the end of Volume 1 raises two massive red flags. The first, the officer does not read to the person they are arresting their rights. The official Japanese arrest proceedings contain the following lines. During this period, the police are required to inform you of the crime of which you are suspected, of your right to remain silent, of your right to hire a lawyer at your own expense. But the police do not do this. This would be a clear violation under any sane government. But remember that the police officers do not inform you of these rights because you do not have these rights. The government is controlling and very brutal. You can be detained on a mere suspicion of a crime and at the officer's discretion. The second red flag comes up when the officer does not show her badge to Chakla and Vanilla while arresting them, which is also support for the fact that the police are brutal and the regimen they serve under is oppressive. Oddly enough, a very small amount of police population is female, but the officer just happens to be female, which is additional support for the male genocide theory. Number 7. Criminals are melted down and turned into cat girls. This one's a stretch, but it also follows that if the government were to maintain any sort of genetic diversity in a population of clones, there must be some random element to the matching of genes in order to compensate for the lack of genuine human reproduction. The solution is to randomly use different genes and elements of the DNA of the citizens, sometimes by force. This is where the elimination of crime meets the existence of cat girls. Human criminals, minus the insane, have their stem cells harvested by force of the production of cat girls. Cat girls cannot be created like normal clones because they are a hybrid species. You will need sufficient amounts of genetic material from both a human and a cat, and the right amount of stem cells if you want to accomplish a human-cat hybrid. The destruction of criminals are necessary, but the cat girls and the mission they undergo are all the byproduct of this totalitarian policy. With that, I end my theory. There is more going on than at first appears. Spread the truth. Don't let this happen. Do not let their crimes go unpunished. Too long, didn't read. Jet fuel can't melt steel beams. But, yeah. Thanks for listening. Okay, I think we're finished with the first floor for now. Yeah, I didn't think it would actually take this long, but apparently there's a lot of thought process that goes into making your own home. And to be honest, I've never actually played games where you just make your own home, not like Animal Crossing or anything. So, yeah, I think we'll just end it here. We'll save the second floor for another video, I guess. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that doorbell. And thanks again. See ya. Bye.